You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den, episode 72 with Mary Shores. Defining emotionally unavailable. What if it's you and not just him? Ladies, welcome back to the Dating Den. I am still hanging out at my remote den in Arizona. What I love about being here at my parents' house, by the way, I'm at my dad's house. He just had his 78th birthday. He doesn't look a day over 60, I swear to God. Anyway, what I love about this is, my dad, my mom died. They were married for 43 years. Totally helped my dad go online. One date. That's all he needed. My stepmom's awesome. What I love being here in the energy of their relationship is they just are so cute and they love each other and they're so happy. And it just really connects me to the power of what love can do in your life. And so it's with that energy and joy and juju of my cute stepmom and my dad. They're just so cute that I have invited the amazing Mary Shores into the Dating Den. Mary told me she's single. She's been divorced 10 years. So I thought it'd be extra special to give her a little of that juju of the happy and love the second time. And if you don't know Mary, she is an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur. She generates positive and pragmatic solutions. And I know all you guys like pragmatic solutions for people who are freaking out. And I know that you guys all freak out. She's got just a great energy and she blends her personal experience with a thing I'm passionate about, which is neuroscience and human behavior. And she guides businesses and individuals to defeat the freak out, which is amazing, and create their ideal life. And that is why she's here, because for a lot of you, your life doesn't suck. You have friends. It's good. Your work is good. But it's the life that you're getting, not the life that you wanted, that is in your heart's desire. And so what I really want to talk to Mary about is, overcoming the way your brain is operating to kind of keep you in meh instead of marvelous. So, Mary, welcome into my den.
Thank you, Marni. I am ecstatic to be here. I've never been on a show like this before, so I'm excited and also a little nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Because it's just, I don't mean nervous in a bad way. It's just I don't know what to expect.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm really nice. So just so you know, people are like, are you going to be nice when I coach them? Because I get to the truth, which is what you do too. So let's talk about this. You told me, here you are, you're this expert in defeating the freak out. And you got divorced 10 years ago. Tell me about that. What was your freak out and how have you been defeating it, to create your ideal life? Let's just get real with you.
Sure. Well, I would say that my freak out wasn't one particular moment. It was just a years long journey of one freak out after another. So my whole where I sort of came from was a place that was rooted in abandonment. So from a very young age, when I was 3, I was abandoned the first time because my parents were getting divorced, and then I was sent to live with relatives. And I don't want to, it's only a 30-minute show, so I don't want to harp too much on that. But I just want to say that it planted a seed in me. Okay. And then when I was 16, my mom, who was now going on to her third husband, abandoned me again because she really wanted to live with this man in wedded bliss. And I did not fit into that scenario. So I was out on my own at 16 and I still had to graduate high school. And I did that. And I ended up as a teenage mother. But the problem is that my daughter was born with severe and profound brain damage. And what that looks like is she was blind, she was deaf, she was unable to suck a bottle because she did not have a suck and a swallow reflex. So and again, I don't want to get too deep into this because I'm just showing you what my foundations were.
Yeah, totally.
So she did pass away as a result of her brain injury. But for that time period that she was alive, I was living as a teen mom in children's hospitals, sleeping on the emergency room floor. And so after she passed away, you know, those kinds of things in life a lot of times build a very strong and resilient character.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
And because so, you gotta survive, right? Which is the good thing about our brain.
Right. And so those were very character building years for me. And I went on to start my first business when I was 24, which sounds like that sort of high achiever is pretty common amongst your listeners. So I'm like really thankful to be amongst a group of women who sort of get me, you know, like yes. They get it that like I set out to build an empire, and that's exactly what I did. But like, you know, we were talking about in the pre-show, these are sort of things that I've learned along the way. I got married when I was also 24, and I didn't understand anything about marriage, about relationships, about the masculine and the feminine. I just was like hot for him and he was hot for me. So like we got married.
I totally get that. I did the same thing.
Right. And then like, but I was in love with him. And then like when we went through this divorce, that is one of these rock bottom moments that just, it took me out of life. And it took me out of life for 2 years. And, you know, like I was really reflecting that when I got divorced, no one alive could have convinced me that I was going to be divorced for 10 years. I don't know how my life ended up like a song that Pink would sing about, but it somehow has, right? So, because like I would never have believed that he would have left in the first place. Like that did not cross my mind even as a possibility because I thought we had a really strong marriage. But anyway, it did. And that was my darkest time. And I definitely recovered from that, but it took a very long time, a couple of years. But if someone would have told me, Mary, you're not going to be remarried right away, I would have like laughed at them and be like, what? Because I didn't realize that like dating in your early 20s is very different than dating when you're a little bit more mature and in your 30s. And now for me in my 40s, it's just a whole different ball game.
It totally is. So when you look at like what is different, right? Like, and knowing that you come from that deep-seated place of fear, and then your husband freaking bails, right? Like, so you're like, great, more evidence, people leave. Like, what are some of the like hacks that you have for yourself, you know, to stay focused on the life that you want and to move out of like the story of that past? And how's your whole, what you teach around, you know, brain science and your nervous system? Like, are you able to harness what you know and make those shifts and get out of that place of fear?
Yeah. You know, I don't have any fear surrounding those kinds of relationships anymore because I think that what I needed to understand is I was repeating a pattern. And so I got into several relationships, and all of them ended in one of two ways: disaster or tragedy. Pick one. And so I think that through that time, I had not changed up my strategy. I had not learned the lessons that I needed to learn, and so I was showing up still from a place that was probably having the energy of abandonment. And I know that like women, I had this like really big aha moment like 6 months ago. And it was all because it was this craziest thing where I'm in this one group on Facebook, and it's like single women, and it's like, well, they all share like stories and stuff. This one woman who is probably 50, all of a sudden she got like enamored with this 35-year-old, like self-proclaimed drummer boy rock star who is all of a sudden going to move to her town from Texas to California and move in with her. And he was like, before they even met, he was telling her that he loved her. And I was so pissed off. I was like, girl, this is crazy. What are you doing? Right. And
yeah.
I'm like, this is a disaster. Like, I don't understand. And this guy was like having phone sex with other people and she knew about it. Like, it was just the most intensely stupid situation that any smart businesswoman could ever see herself in, but yet it was happening.
It's happening. And let me just interject, because I think this is really important, and that's why people are here, is because really smart women do really like out of alignment behaviors when it comes to men, because of like all of the stuff. And so I love that you share that, because, you know, we all like, it's our dirty little secret. I'm just here to tell you, just like this woman, right? Just know that people do it. And it's a great big opportunity, not only for that woman, but like in the pay it forward, it was your ha. So what happened?
Yeah. So I got into mad, passionate arguments with her online. I've never even met this woman. And it was really a distraction. And I looked at myself and I'm like, Mary, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And I remember I was like typing to her. I'm like, look, you attract what you are. And like, your life is a mess and you're attracting someone else who's a mess. And I was like, wait a second, you know, you cannot give that advice to someone else without looking at yourself. And I was like, the thing that I always do is attract. And this last relationship I had, which like completely ripped my heart out, he was unavailable. And I'm like, you attract what you are. So you are unavailable. And I had this huge aha moment, because I feel like as a woman, I noticed my pattern would be that I was constantly overgiving. And I'm like, well, I can't be the one who's unavailable because I'm the one that's giving. And I was equating giving with being available. But the truth is that as a person that had that seed planted at 3 years old of abandonment, that what happened was and I'm going to just use the word energetically, and hopefully people can resonate with this.
My people get it.
Okay, good.
We're all with you.
Got it. All right. So like energetically, I was working through this sort of posture of abandonment that caused me to have kyphosis of the spine, which is like a curvature of the back of the upper spine. It's like what you get when you're protecting your heart. Okay. So what I realized was that just even that men can pick up on this body language. And so even though my behaviors were available, my posturing, my behaviors were coming from a place of fear and abandonment. So no matter what I did, like nice things in a relationship and, you know, showing up in my feminine and all of that good stuff, and that was never going to work because I was doing it to cover up the fear of abandonment, which was showing up energetically all over the place.
That's amazing, because what I talk about in the show all the time is I'm all about energy. And I always say, like, you're leaking, right? Like, it doesn't matter that you wear a dress. It doesn't matter that you listen to the podcast, read the book, and have the t-shirt about flirting.
Just sent all the right text messages.
Exactly.
Smiled and flirted at the exact right times. Like, I totally got it. But see, when I was looking at, like, I was always available, but was I? Because the truth is that it was fake. It was availability. It was things that I was doing because I felt like I should be doing them. And the truth is, men, and we know this now, like we know this from all of the studies, like in the masculine and feminine, but men are picking up subtle cues from our body language. They're picking up facial expressions. There is much more nonverbal communication that's going on. And they are also attracted to what they are. So like all of a sudden I had this like epiphany. Oh my gosh, I totally get it now why I am attracting unavailable men. And I made a decision, like I am backing off of dating. I'm doing something called the core 4 right now, which is where like I'm focused on 4 core areas of life. And my big decision, which I wish I would have done this 20 years ago, is that one of my core 4 is healing. And so I got some stuff I got to heal and I was on a show with a woman that is a dating coach. And we were talking about the difference between having like a Harvard level relationship, a state college level relationship, or like a community college level relationship. And I decided in that moment, I'm like, I want to have the Harvard level relationship. And in order to do that, it takes time and patience. And the thing that I know, and this isn't the same for all of your listeners, obviously, but I've got some healing to do.
Well, amen, sister. It's actually interesting. I interviewed a guest. She's the author of the book Neurosculpting, and she was telling me, like, in the minute detail of the ways in which our body expresses the hypervigilance of our limbic system, right? When we're operating from that place of abandonment or whatever our core issue is. And she was saying, it's like, you know, the way your eyes are, the way you smile, the way your cheek, it like literally, it is so perceptible to the intuition and just the way, it's that thing that men will say, you know, like, she was really great. And you listeners, all of you, you're like, he was great, but there was no chemistry. It was just, you know, there was just something. And that's that little piece of that leaking of being unavailable. And to really go in and do that healing, that I love to have a Harvard relationship. Because really quality men are out there, and they're totally looking for that too. And so you got to be able to be emotionally available. That's amazing. Okay. So let me ask you this. So I know you have this whole thing, you do this like 1-page action plan for massive growth. So you look at your core 4 and you're like healing. So like, how do you translate that into this plan of being an intention and action around something that could be very woo woo or vague? Like, I got to heal that.
Yeah. So 1-page action plan is pretty awesome. And I think all of your listeners would love it. And so it's just like you take the end result and you reverse engineer what it is you want that outcome to be. So the first part of that is, and I have 4 things on my core 4, but like, let's focus on heal. So I just need to say to myself, what are 6 things that need to be true in order to heal? And that might take me, obviously we know what our junk is, right? So it didn't take me that long to know, okay, well, I've got like this thing from my daughter. I know I've got abandonment. I've been hurt in relationships. I also am the mother, a single mom of a special needs child. I've got like, I get like really tripped up with my relationship with my ex-husband. So like, I know what these things are, but healing to me, it's like, I'm getting very specific with these 6 bullets. Like, I need to heal my spine. I need to heal my heart. I need to get my adrenals, like whatever, back on track. Like, I'm very specific about those 6 things. Okay. So then I just take each one of those bullet points and I think, now, what are 3 things I can do to move me in the direction of healing that? So like, for example, let's talk about my heart. Well, in mid-April, and I don't know the airing of the show, but in mid-April, I'm going on a heart meditation retreat. It's called Heartlines. And I've been really, really looking forward to this. This was a big decision for me. And I'm doing this at the Monroe Institute. So I'm always like gaining momentum in the area of what it is that I want to accomplish. And so for me, that also meant I had to make a big decision for the first time in my life, because as you probably know about women with abandonment issues, they are always in relationships. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time in my entire life that I have not been actively pursuing dating, because I want that Harvard level. And in order to get the Harvard level, like, I wasn't even in community college. I was in like middle school relationships. In order to get what I want, I literally need to be a Harvard level person.
I love this, because this is, I always say, be the person you want to attract. And you and I briefly talked about this, how our default is to go into what's wrong. What's wrong with dating? What's wrong with men? What's wrong with online? What's wrong with my town? What's wrong with my baggage? What's wrong? What's wrong? And so for you, that taking responsibility to be the person you want to attract, to be the Harvard level person, is like massive. Like, that's huge, taking responsibility.
Yeah. And I want to add something to that, because like, once you start moving your life in that direction of the place you want to go, those synchronicities start to kick in, right? So I was speaking at a yoga retreat, and one of the women shared this poem with me, and I thought it was so beautiful. I don't know what the name of the poem is, but it goes like this. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. I get chills.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the, like, when I started moving in that direction, one of the things that I realized is that I was covering up my blue skin. And that in order to get to that Harvard level is I had to be willing to constantly be who I really am. And when you are a high achieving woman, it's sort of like we're constantly getting this message like, oh, you're too much, you're intimidating, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, so we try to be something else, or I can't say we, I was trying to perhaps be something else when really what I needed to do was be even more of my fabulous self.
Well, totally, because all of that is a hiding place, right? It's that, and my clients, you can say we, like my clients hear this and my listeners all the time. I'm too much and too big. And what's really interesting is two things happen. One is like, and I swear on this show, so I hope you're not offended. One is like, fuck them, it's their loss, right? Like if they don't like me the way I am. And then this other piece is there's that, and underneath it is, God, what if there is something wrong with me? Right.
And it's like, it's all evolution. It's all expansion. And I know that like after I heard that poem and I had that moment on this yoga retreat, like even though I'm not currently like pursuing being in a relationship, what I noticed was I do still have men interested in me. So I went out to dinner with somebody and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to like be who I really am. And I did that. And like, this guy is like more into me than anyone for quite a while. And like this story goes that when I went to see him again, I went up to Chicago because I was being filmed in a documentary called The Resilience Project. And this guy was like, oh, can I take you to lunch before the project, blah, 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 blah. And then I said, yes. And then it turns out like the place we were going to film at was bad. It was like bad. It was like in the hood. So he was like, hey, you know what? I have a beautiful office downtown. You guys can use it. There's beautiful windows everywhere. And this film crew, they were so relieved. They were like, okay. But like, here, look at that. It gave him a chance to be the hero. And then he stayed like in his own office while we were filming. And 3 hours later, by the time we were done, he was like, oh, well, I researched this place. I can take you to dinner. Like he was totally showing up in his masculine, and he wasn't intimidated at all by my greatness.
I love that. And that's really one of the foundation pieces of our formula, right? Is to really spend some time with your authentic self, getting to know her, and then to put yourself out there. And we hear that all the time, right? When women are not intentionally dating, they're really working on this healing and they're practicing being authentic in what typically may be high stakes situation. Like, oh, there's this really cute guy. I'm gonna go out to dinner with them. And they're like, nope, I'm just going to practice being me. And this always happens. They get more numbers when they're taking a pause than when they're working on it, because they're relaxing into being authentic, because they're detached really from that outcome.
From the outcome. Yeah. And I would say that it feels like such a different type of connection too. And I haven't wanted it to go anywhere, and that's fine because that's not really what I'm looking for. But I can tell you, like the last relationship that I was in, I had went away for this week-long breathwork seminar, and this thing blew my heart wide open. It was like, oh my gosh. I go to workshops all the time. Like I'm a workshop junkie, a holic. So I was not expecting this breathwork thing to be as powerful as it was, but I just was in this huge heart space. And right away I ran into this like chemist guy that I know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like such a crush on him. And it was just crazy whirlwind romance. But a week later, he was moving to Colorado to be like a pot scientist. And I know, like, this when I tell you, like, my stories are ridiculous, this is an example of a ridiculous story, because Mary, the CEO, best-selling author, and public speaker, decides to date the pot scientist in Colorado. Like, what? But, I just like, oh, he's a brilliant chemist, and he was like sharing with me how he wants to open his own vitamin company. And he's like, I want to live in Belize. And like, so I'm sitting there having this crazy fantasy about like, oh, I'm going to live in Belize and we're going to like hang out in the hot tub and I'm going to help him run his vitamin company and I'm going to write books. And like,
oh my God, it's like the season finale of Weeds, except it's starring you. Like,
And I was totally down with it, like everything. Cause his whole, like I called him the Willy Wonka of chocolate, of marijuana, because like that was his whole job, was to put the marijuana in the chocolate. But like, okay, that's a great story. But here's the thing. I never had my heart broke like this before. So when this relationship ended, I think because I had created this huge fantasy, when he became emotionally unavailable, I could not handle it. I mean, oh my gosh, Marni, like I did some embarrassing things that I'm actually not going to say publicly. Let's just say they're pretty embarrassing. Anyway, it took me, I only dated this guy for less than 6 months. And a year and a half later, I'm still messed up. And I've never had that happen to me before. And it was a huge wake up call. And it led me to that aha moment. It led me to the Blue Skin poem. It led me to really, understanding I have some things that are affecting the way that I show up in the world. And I have to go back and I have to correct those things. And even though I've written this personal development book that teaches people how to get through their journeys, the truth is our journey through life is not necessarily meant to be a graceful one. And my journey at times has truly been uncomfortable. And this is me like still unraveling all of those parts of myself, because, we can be superstars in one area and then like be hurting on the inside in another area.
Oh my God. Everyone out there is like high-fiving. They're like, yes, Mary,
Really?
that's me. Oh my God. How can I be so fucked up in this one area? But I want it so much, because we have so much love in our hearts to give. And what you're really modeling is like, you're looking at that feedback of that breakup and you're like, wow, you know what? Like, bless him for really showing me what's at stake, and that, I got to do this work. And that's why, and here's the other thing I love that you're modeling, Mary, is like, it doesn't matter like how much quote unquote work you've done, because all that work got you to have the aha moment, around the moment in the Facebook group. It got you to have the self-awareness, with the guy to know that that's what's happening for you. So bless the work that you've done, and then make friends with the fact that your results are showing you there's more. You need to, take the advantage, like you need to go to Harvard of intimacy, get a PhD in intimacy so that you can attract that same guy who's in your class.
That's right. And, like I'm doing it, I'm doing, we look for quick fixes. We look for like, oh, I'm going to go to Date with Destiny and have a transformation in a weekend. It's truly not how it goes down. What I think is we go through, we learn tools, we need to apply them more. We need to integrate, we need to implement. And when we can do those things, it really truly does work out for us. And so I'm so grateful. You know how people do that like one word?
Yep.
So like, that's my word for this year is heal. And I'm so grateful for that, because I wanted it to be last year, but I fucked around and I didn't. So now you realize that a Band-Aid wasn't going to work. It's a bleeding neck situation, and you're going to go. Now I'm in it. I'm in it. And it feels good. It feels exciting. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to heal. No, I'm like excited. Like, I can't wait to go to Heartlines at Monroe Institute. I can't wait, because you know why? Because like, I know that when that heart was busted into a million pieces of shattered glass, like what happens when you take all of those pieces of glass and you form them back together is now there's a billion facets of light shining off of that heart. And that's where I know I'm going. And that's why I'm so excited.
I love this. Well, I love this conversation. It's totally not, I'm sure, what neither of us expected. But the fact that you are so open and transparent is really, really, really inspiring. And I really encourage everyone to check out Mary. We have to have you back, Mary, because we need to talk about communications, and we could talk about the cleanse. There's so many things. But in the meantime, ladies, I really want you to go check out the show notes, because one of the gifts that Mary has, which she's going to totally leverage when she meets her Harvard level man, is around having amazing communication. And so she has this super cool conscious communications like guidebook, and you can go grab that in the show notes and really check her out and get to know her. Mary, will you come back and update us, and we can talk about all the other cool stuff that they're doing. We can talk about cleanse or clog. We can talk about friend or frenemy, the nervous system, all those other fun topics.
Yeah, I would love to. And I would really love like if you resonate with my story at all and you want to know more, I just tell people like if you check out Conscious Communications on Amazon and you just read the description, you always know, you read the description, read a few reviews, you'll know whether the book is right for you or not. And finding me is super easy. I have a Facebook group called Fearless Ambition, and I'm all over social media. And my website is Mary Shores, SHORES.com.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for being here, ladies. Mary, thank you for being here. I'm super happy for you. And I appreciate once again your like transparency. And it was really super inspiring. I hope you felt all the high fives and the love from everyone.
Yeah,
in
feeling
the
really great.
Den. Ladies, hey, don't forget when you're out there, date with some damn dignity. You're worth it. Love you guys. See you next time.